Texas and yield to Buddy Carter from the great state of Georgia for 3 minutes for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for convening this today. Today we meet to mark up and pass a budget that is desperately needed. This week our national debt hit $33 trillion for the first time ever. And it comes only 3 months after we crossed the $32 trillion mark in June. Plain and simple, that is absurd. It's unsustainable, and as our chairman has said, it is a curse. This is a curse that is robbing our children of the American dream. With $33 trillion of debt and climbing, our debt is 123% of our GDP. Under the Biden administration's current budget plans, our interest payments grow from an already staggering $661 billion this fiscal year to an otherworldly $1.3 trillion in 10 years. $1.3 trillion in interest. That's more than we spent on any single line item last year. Not too long ago, that was our entire discretionary budget. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, you can see that we are headed for disaster. I refuse to pass that along to future generations. As the father of 3 sons, the grandfather of 6 grandchildren, and 1 on the way, I refuse to do that. I'm proud to have worked with Chairman Arrington and my fellow committee members to bring forth a budget that reverses course. This budget before us will reduce the deficit by over $16 trillion over the next decade. It reduces our federal debt by $14.6 trillion, and it cuts interest costs by almost $3 trillion over 10 years compared to the president's budget. Importantly, it fulfills the House Republicans' commitment to America by balancing the budget by fiscal year 2033 with a surplus in the same year. Compare that to the budget President Biden submitted earlier this year. He proposes an eye-popping $82 trillion in spending over the next decade. With inflation driving up the cost of everything from gasoline to groceries, the federal government cannot continue to spend money and put the burden of this debt onto our children and grandchildren. I feel it is important to end all of this by countering some of the narratives we will inevitably hear from my friends across the aisle. We are able to achieve all these savings without touching Social Security and Medicare, cutting funding for our veterans, hamstringing our national security, and standing up for the American farmer. There are many policy issues that I haven't even addressed, and I know we were over the course of this markup from pro-growth, pro-freedom policies to reining in out-of-control healthcare and welfare bureaucrats. But from the outset of this hearing, I want to make it clear that our fiscal situation is dire, and I applaud the chairman for crafting a viable path to sanity. This committee has produced a roadmap for the American government to be fiscally solvent within a decade and keep our promises to our constituents. I applaud Chairman Arrington and all the staff that have worked on this proposal. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
I thank the gentleman from Georgia for his comments and yield now 3 minutes to